Good morning, Young Kings. Time for your more motivation. Decided to jump back on my second time this week. But I was sitting out here getting ready to go into physical therapy for my wrists. And I was just reflecting on a lot of things. So I figured if I was going to sit here and reflect, might as well just press record and give you the benefit of some of these reflections. So not sure how this train of thoughts all going to come out. There's a lot of thoughts in this big head, and we'll see how they filter down through my senses and out verbally through my mouth into your ears. So we'll see how that comes out. Today's December 3rd, and it's my mom's birthday, her heavenly birthday. She died back in 2015. And it's been a long journey in her absence. I think it was a premature death, but I think also she had lost her desire to navigate through the adversity of life. She had some health conditions and some underlining things that she just didn't want to deal with anymore, and she just wanted to surrender and be at peace. And a part of me at the time thought that was selfish, but at the same time, I've been on these videos and I've been telling you that peace is priceless. And no, she didn't commit suicide, so I'm not talking about a premature death as though she ended her own life. But I think there's the Most High gives us opportunities at certain stages of life and seeing if we want to continue or not, which all time is in the Most High hand. So I think that was her appointed time to die. But from my human aspect and my humanist side, I thought it was too soon. But I learned a lot of valuable lessons. And as I was sitting here reflecting, and I'm probably going to go back and forth in time on a lot of these things, I realized that as a young African-American man now, being raised by a single mother, there's a lot that's missing in that bag. But what was in that bag, I would tell you, is probably the reason why us as Morton men, and I said us meaning me, my brothers, Marlon, Brian, are having such difficulty in meaningful relationships with women. I was in an unfulfilling marriage, and not to throw the shade, but my brothers haven't had much success at relationships either. And I realized, just as I was sitting here reflecting on my mom's strength, her ability to navigate through adversity, working, how she maneuvered, at times not having a car, going to the grocery store on public transportation, and we're showing up at the bus stop to help her carry groceries back in the snow, running errands for her, seeing how she worked all day, and then she came home and she cooked a home-cooked meal. Like, growing up, McDonald's wasn't an option for our household. One, we couldn't afford it, and two, the meal she were preparing was so much better than what we could get at a restaurant. It was the neighborhood cook. She would cook, and all her friends would come by like, "Hey, what your mom cooked today?" Because she was just that good in the kitchen, and she was a chef, a magician with the kitchen and how to put a little together and make a lot. So as I reflect on that, I was like, you know what? I see why we struggle so much in relationships now, is because we've seen what a strong black woman can do. We've seen how you can be dealt a bad hand and still come out with a winning hand. She was, and my mom, don't get me wrong, she wasn't this lovey-dovey person. If I had a statement to make about my mom, I would say that she was hard to like, but easy to love. Man, like, if you were sensitive, if you were fragile in your opinion of yourself or things you were doing, I mean, her mouth and her tongue was sharp. You wouldn't probably like my mom because she was unfiltered, so a lot of people didn't like her, but those that got through that initial stage of that's who she is, loved her. I mean, loved what she was able to do with how little that she had. So I was translating like that's why we're having so much trouble with relationships now, because knowing how strong someone is, that is your first role model of what a woman should be. And I know when you get married or when you get with someone, you're not getting a second mom. You don't get a second one. There's only one of those. But you will gauge that woman based off your upbringing under that woman. And if you had a strong black woman as a mother, or a strong woman in general, you will use that as the benchmark for everything subsequently that comes after that. So when you see people falter under less conditions than that, and it's not just with parenting and this and that, society as a whole has lost its resiliency, meaning like there's things that's happening now that back in the day was considered acceptable, like even some of the beatings, and I would call it beatings because right now that'd be child abuse. Some of the things that I endured as a kid, she was heavy-handed. Extension cords, being naked, getting hit by, side pedaling, molding on cars and stuff like that, and that stuff would be considered child abuse. But at my age, I'm 46, and there's some things now, like me going to school, I missed the bus, you would walk to school, and now kids, they don't do that, or you would have parents back in the day said they used to have to walk to school 10 miles in the snow uphill, with 0-degree weather, stuff like that. But now kids are upset, if the heat on the bus is not at 85 degrees, if everything is not right, if they don't got cool air condition in the summertime. And for us, it was different. We were grown under different circumstances and situations. We were placed outside, where there was no AC. We were running down trading bike parts. We were told to get out the house, just make sure we were back before the lights came back on, the street lights. So the first thought is that I kind of diagnosed our difficulties in relationship is because our mom was industrious. She worked, and she started off as a lunch aide, and she made her way up to managing the school district lunch program. So she started from something very small, and through her work ethic and through her drive and ambition, she built herself up to be the lead manager over not only one school, but all the schools in the district, and worked there just over 30-something years. So she built her way up. So we've seen her work. We've seen her being a caregiver, taking care of her mom when her mom was about to pass, and she brought her up from Alabama. And we've seen how she was a steward of her mom's health, and her mom didn't want to be here because she was from Alabama, so she ended up allowing her to go back down to Alabama, and then they ended up putting her in a nursing home, and she subsequently passed that way. But I seen how her concern was to take care of her mom. I seen how she managed her home, always have a clean house. And I think that is where I get mine from. Like, I want a clean house. I was brought up on Luther Vandross and Freddie Jackson. And although I love that music today, back when I was in my early teens and 10 and below, early adolescent stage, that music used to terrorize me. Meaning that because as soon as I heard Marvin Gaye go on or Luther Vandross go on, I knew I was going to be cleaning all day. And then once we got the inside of the house done, we were going to make our way to the outside and do the yard to make sure that the outside of the house was looking nice, whether it be shoveling or whether it be mowing the grass or raking. she was a good steward of where we lived at. We seen her grow. Like, we were in Alabama one year for a family reunion, and this one we were staying on the east side, and we came back home from the family reunion, and our house was broken into. You know, everything was stolen out of there. We had dogs, puppies, and everything that was there, and they took everything. And seeing how she made up in her mind that she was going to move us out of there, and we moved to the south side. You know, found a better house, and just how she was able to improve on her lot in life, having 4 kids as a single parent. So I think that for us as men, seeing that type of strength in a woman, and then experiencing women that doesn't display that exact same strength, it kind of leaves us at a void. Like, hey, I know it can be done, and that's probably an unrealistic expectation to have on women. Maybe you can let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts about that? How do you compare, as young kings, how do you compare the woman you're dating or the one you married to the one that raised you? And is there a contrast between some of the qualities that your mother exhibited to your significant other exhibited? And if there's a discrepancy between the two, how do you navigate through that? Do it frustrate you, or do you understand, and do you give grace? How do you negotiate through that? And maybe you can help us Morton boys out, because we really struggle in that area of relationships, and finding that same strength, that same ambition, that same leadership, that all those things she exhibited. And not saying she was perfect. Like I said, she was hard to like and easy to love. But me, I couldn't live in the same house as her. I recognized that as an adult man, I needed my own space. So I do appreciate the fact that she raised me to a point where I could be self-sufficient. Meaning, like, my work, I cook, and not to throw shade, but I normally cook better than the women that I've been associated with. I clean, you know, I do all those things. So even as you, as a young king, if you don't do those things, you need to find a way to improve your skill set so you're not dependent. Because roles are interchangeable now too. If you like a clean house, then clean your house, and then make sure you're just not having somebody there that's going to be destructive or damaging your peace within your clean house. So that's one area of relationships that I was sitting here reflecting on. Then the other part I was reflecting on is that now I'm at a stage in my life where I'm transitioning out of the military. And I remember when I commissioned back in 2002 was the same time that my mom was kind of transitioning out of her full-time employment. And I remember observing her, and that's one thing she didn't handle well. She was so proud of what she accomplished throughout that 30 years of working in a school district, that she kind of subconsciously let her identity blend with her position and her accomplishment. And the thing, what happens is when you blend your position with your identity, when they become married, when you lose your position, then it feels like you lost a part of your identity. And my mom never recovered. And although she died in 2015, I think she really started dying in 2002, 2003, when she retired, was forced to retire. Because give you the backdrop on there, she was managing the school district lunch program, and she was commissioned to cater a special event for the superintendent. So she went out and, you know, she did a lot of catering. Like I said, she was a wonderful cook, and she catered this event that the superintendent was having, and everybody praised her food and everything. And then this was on the weekend, and then she gets to work on a Monday, and she finds out that they're going a different direction with their program. You might have to check the facts, but it was around the time that Magic Johnson was taking over the school district lunch program. So the year may be off 1 or 2, but whatever year that is, that's the year that he put in the bid to take over the school lunch program, and he won. So she gets to work after catering this event, and they let her go. They said they wanted her to retire, and that she was going to, she got her full retirement, her pension and all that, and that was it. And she never recovered for that. She felt slighted. She used to come back, and anybody that would listen during that last 10 to 15 years of her life, she would tell how she was screwed. Like, they could have let me know Friday before I catered this event. Now, I didn't spend all this money and energy trying to please them, only to get to a point where they let me go. And she never recovered from that. And this is at the same time that I'm commissioning as a lieutenant. And I remember when I was commissioning as a lieutenant, I seen her identity being lost in that moment. A very strong woman, stubborn woman too, but I seen her identity eroding at that time. And I made a quote when I became a lieutenant, and I think I shared with you all before on a previous video, but my quote when I commissioned was that I never let what I do determines who I am, because when I stop doing what I do, I still want to be who I am. And I'm going to say that again. I never let what I do determines who I am, because when I stop doing what I do, I still want to be who I am. And that was so significant to me, because there's so many opportunities for you to surrender your identity to a position, to a status, and to a person, or this and that. And you realize, like, when that position, status, or whatever it is that you surrendered your identity to, then when that goes away, then you're lost. And that was so significant of me when I started my career. And I wanted to make sure that I went into my career giving my all. And this is the advice that I gave my daughter when she went to West Point. I says, go there and give it all you have, but don't never give it who you are. It's okay for you to go there and you can do and give 100%, but don't lose your ability to smile. Don't, because my daughter Demar, the one that graduated from West Point, she has this contagious laughter and this smile that can just change the environment of a room. Like, she can't contain it. When she wants to laugh, she laughs. And I think that's why my brother Marlon, nicknamed her Smiley at a very young age, because it's very contagious. So when she got there, and this is a very prestigious university, and I wanted to make sure, like, hey, go give it all you have, but don't give it who you are. Don't surrender that joy you have inside for the sake of making a living. So I never let what I do determine who I am, because when I stop doing what I do, I still want to be who I am. So my advice to all you young kings is to give it all you have, but don't give it who you are. Don't merge your identity with a position, with a woman, with anything external to the Most High. If you're going to merge it with the Most High. Because when you merge it with the Most High, He's going to continue to recreate you into a higher version of yourself. When you merge it with anything other than that, you're going to become a lower version of yourself. You are not what you do. So as I was sitting here reflecting on that, of now me coming to the tail end of my military career, I'm at a position where I can say, fuck this job. Like, I don't want to be called Lieutenant Colonel retired after this. Just send me my pension. That's all I need. You don't need to call me sir or this and that and have me try to think about some accolades that I accomplished. Yeah, I'm proud that I was able to go from a private to Lieutenant Colonel, that I was able to drive Bradleys, I was able to fly Blackhawks. I've been to countries, Germany, Bulgaria, Greece, Afghanistan, Liberia. I've been all over the world, and I'm proud of those things. But fuck that job. You think I'm about to be thinking about, hey, I wish I would have did this or did that? No, just send me my check. I already learned this lesson the hard way. A job stole my mom's identity. Fuck the Army. Like, not in a derogatory sense, but my identity ain't associated with that. Like, man, there's about to be a complete departure from what I did to who I am. I'm still me. So I'm getting to a point in my life where now I want to be able to go a step further than my mom. She gave it all she had, and she gave it who she was. I gave it all I had, and if it wasn't good enough, if you didn't appreciate it, hey, that's past. You can talk about it to somebody else that has an ear for discerning what you want to say about it. But for me, it's time to make that transition and do something different. And even in doing something different, I'm not getting to a point where I want a job to define me. You know, don't ever try to be defined by your education, by your employment, or by what you have or what you don't have. Define yourself. And like I said, if anything's going to define you, let the Word and the Most High define you, because you were created in His image and in His likeness. And anybody that try to communicate anything abstract of that is probably not a friend or somebody you need to associate with. So just kind of snapped right there. But yeah, that's how I feel about that. And that's how I think that you should navigate your life. If you can go through the principle of giving all you have, but never give it who you are, then I think you'll be better for it. You know, so that was one of the second trains of thought that I had in regards to her. Is like, never merge your identity with that. There's life after what you're doing. There's life after that job you have. There's life after that divorce. There's life after whatever traumatic event that you experience. It creates an opportunity to bridge you in, to usher you into a new environment. So don't get to a point where you think that what you have is all that you were meant to have. Sometimes God say no to this so He can say yes to something else. So that's His way of transitioning you out. But if you stuck on what you have, like I said, the difference with being selfish and stuff, like, live your life like with an open hand. If you try to grip and close everything, hold on to everything you have, you may be able to keep it for duration, but also what you're doing is preventing anything else from coming into your life. But if you leave it open, like, now this opportunity can come, it can stay as long as it's mutually beneficial for both of you all, and then it can pass out and another one can come in. So live your life with an open hand. Don't leave it closed, because when it's closed, you may be stopping things from getting out, but you're also preventing things from getting in. So there's a lot of wisdom that I learned in watching how she navigated through life, and how she let circumstances determine how she lived the rest of her life. I was sitting here, before I came here, I gave my daughter a ride to work, Tiani, my oldest twin. And she got in the car and she was emotionally shook about something, and she didn't want to talk about it. And I don't know if she heard me, but I gave her some words of wisdom that I hope she applied, not only through today, but through the remainder of her life. I told her, I says, pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional. And I think I went over this in the video before. So if these videos are starting to sound redundant, it's probably because you hard hitting. You need to listen to what I said, so I repeated it again. But anyways, I says pain is mandatory. Suffering is optional. It's meaning, like, you can't stop painful events from happening to you. You can't prevent them from happening to you. There's no way you can stop it. So pain is mandatory. The suffering part, though, is when you continue to reflect and remember all the painful things that's happened to you, and you relive it moments, days, weeks, years after event. That's become suffering. Now, the painful event didn't already happen and it's over with. but you're still down in a distant place and you're still reflecting back on that event. So that's the suffering. That's the part that's optional. You can choose to carry that bitterness as long as you want. And honestly, that's a part of me that I'm in counseling now to try to do that. So if you're not able to navigate through your suffering on your own, there's nothing wrong. We're going to get an aid in the hand to help you navigate through that difficulties. So that painful event, I mean, it happened. Now what? What you gonna do? You're gonna waste the rest of your life wishing you would have did something different? Monday morning quarterback it the whole time and thinking, if I would have did this, then I could have got that, and if I would have moved here, then this would have happened. You can't change that. And you're just ruining your now moment with a past moment. So now your now moment is going to impact your future moment. So what's in the past, leave it in the past. You know, what's in the future is not here yet. Don't deal with that. And I'm learning, and I'm speaking to myself, is to deal with today. So right now, I'm about to go deal with this physical therapy, see if I can get some more movement in the hand, because I got somebody I want to punch. Wait till this rest get well. I'm joking, but I'm not joking. Be well, young kings.